Pokemon Go recently had this huge grass-type update in the game, specifically focusing on the trainer battle meta. This buff to grass-type Pokemon included making Bullet Seed an actually good move. It is now a parallel to Foul Play, and then making Energy Ball an actually good move, parallel to Psychic or Earth Power. If you want more details on this update, I already have a video on it, link up above and in the description if you want to check that out. In this video, I'm going to be focusing on one particular Pokemon affected by this update, and that is Cherrim. Not only did Cherrim benefit from the Bullet Seed buff here, but it got a move pool addition. And that move pool addition is Weather Ball. Weather Ball is the signature move of Cast Form in the main series games, but other Pokemon could learn it as well through breeding, and as with Gen 8, TMs as well. There is a TM in Gen 8 for Weather Ball, so we may be seeing more Weather Ball Pokemon come to Pokemon Go in the near future. At any rate, other Pokemon can learn it. One Pokemon that can learn it is Cherrim. And in Pokemon Go, Cherrim now has the Fire Weather Ball. So, sunny, clear weather, that's the fire form, and it's Sunshine Cherrim, so it makes sense that I get the Fire Ball. But what we have now is a Grass-type Pokemon with the best Fire-type charge move in the game. I know Blast Burn's really good, Overheat's pretty crazy too, but I think Weather Ball definitely takes the cake as far as Fire-type charge moves are concerned. So, Cherrim, Grass-type with the best Fire-type charge move in the game. What does that mean for it? Well, that's what we're here for. Here we have PV Poke, and we have a Bullet Seed Fireball Cherrim against a Registeel. Can you at home guess what's going to happen to this Registeel? Oh, Registeel loses in the 1-to-1 shield situation. And scrolling on down, you can see that in every even shield scenario, Cherrim with the Fireball is beating Registeel. If you're not aware of PV Poke simulation data here, if the number is above 500, that means it's winning. If it's less than 500, that means it's losing. And the diagonal here is all of the even shield situations. So win, win, win. No other Grass-type Pokemon in the game has that level of consistency against Registeel. One Pokemon comes close, and that's Meganium. Meganium is super bulky, and it has the Earthquake. However, you kind of have to get some bait shenanigans in order to beat Registeel with Meganium. You really need to land that Earthquake. So landing that one Earthquake and them not shielding it, that can be pretty difficult. Cherrim here, Cherrim doesn't even have to think about it. Cherrim just throws fireballs until Registeel stops moving. Now, one criticism of the Cherrim here that you might be quick to notice is that its main Grass-type damage comes from Solar Beam. So when it comes to being a Grass-type Pokemon and fighting against Water-type Pokemon, Cherrim might have a pretty rough time here. I mean, if you fight a Azumarill, you land the Solar Beam, you KO them, that's super satisfying. But if you fight a Azumarill and they shield the Solar Beam, well, a Water-type Pokemon just beat your Grass-type Pokemon. So a little unfortunate there. However, Cherrim can make up for this by using a Razor Leaf set. So you're pumping up the Grass-type damage, but you're cooling down the Fire-type damage. And you might think, Razor Leaf, okay, now the Fireballs aren't coming fast enough, that's bad news for Cherrim. But if you check the one-shield situation, Cherrim here is only losing by 7 HP. You telling me that this Registeel can't get 7 HP worth of damage on it before Cherrim comes in? And even if it does, or if you're locked into a lead situation, Cherrim can force the 2-shield situation and beat it with 2 shields. 2 shields versus 2 shields. Guess who's throwing fireballs? Cherrim is. Guess who's throwing slow flash cannons? That's Registeel. And Cherrim here, Cherrim can tank a flash cannon. Registeel though, Registeel does not appreciate the fireball, and Registeel definitely does not appreciate the 4 damage per Razor Leaf on the Razor Leaf. Now, while still comparing here to the Meganium, Meganium is a far tankier Grass-type Pokemon and will be a much more consistent pick against stuff like Umbreon or Bastiodon. When it comes to Cherrim fighting these specific Pokemon, Cherrim's going to want to have bigger stats, like it's going to be more important to have that higher stat product. When it comes to Bastiodon in particular, you're going to want to make sure you have at least a 129 HP stat on your Cherrim. And even then, you're only really beating it with the Razor Leaf set in the 2-shield situation. So Bastiodon, kind of really difficult for Cherrim. Cherrim can't just land an Earthquake and call it a day, you know what I'm saying? Then when it comes to Umbreon, the Bulk King Supreme, you're going to make sure you have at least a 115 defense stat. But even that recommendation can be a little flaky because that only helps against like the maximum stat product, Umbreons in particular. So if they have a higher attack stat, well then you're going to need a higher defense stat. So trying to bulk up your Cherrim to consistently take on Umbreon is kind of a fool's errand in a way. So in that respect, Cherrim does have this more dynamic gameplay against Registeel, but is a worse grass type as a grass type than Meganium is. That all said, Cherrim's tech over Meganium doesn't end just there. Unlike Meganium, Cherrim isn't completely lost against flying type Pokemon. A Skarmory does not want to deal with Fireball. A Tropius does not want to deal with a Fireball. A Altaria? Well, Cherrim doesn't just have Weather Ball here. Cherrim also has Dazzling Gleam. So if you are using the Razor Leaf set, you just beat down some Pokemon, straight Razor Leafing them. Maybe it was a water type. They bring in their Altaria. You now have a really heavy hit to throw on their Altaria. It won't outright KO the Altaria like an ice type attack would, but it definitely puts Altaria into the red there, which is really satisfying. Alternatively, if you were to be a little crazy and run the Bullet Seed set, so Bullet Seed, Fireball, and Dazzling Gleam, you do have the opportunity to defeat the Altaria in the 2-shield situation if you have an energy lead. So giving it 2 Bullet Seeds worth of energy on it, you can see that if you land the Dazzling Gleam, all you have to do is double shield and Fireball it down, and Altaria just had the tables turned on it. The only other grass-type Pokemon to do something like this is Shiftry. If Shiftry gets a 2-Snarl energy lead and it lands the Foul Play on Altaria, well, now you can turn the tables on Altaria. One thing I will say is using the Caleb Pasta team, Caleb Pang's team, using the Skarmory backed up with the Shiftry and the Meganium. Early on, Altarias weren't shielding that Foul Play, but as I climbed up higher in ranks, those Altarias were busting out the shields at the right time, so maybe people are getting conditioned to the Shiftry. They might not be all that conditioned to the Cherrim here. Another cool thing with Cherrim over the Shiftry is Shiftry can hurt Registeel, like it can definitely harass Registeel, but Cherrim actually has the power to beat Registeel. So in that respect, if you're comparing Bullet Seed, Dazzling Gleam, Cherrim to a Shiftry, you can think of it as a Shiftry that can actually beat the Registeel. So now you're probably thinking, okay, Cherrim looks pretty hot, but how do I fit it into my team? Well, the best way I feel that you should think of Cherrim and utilize it in your team is to use it basically as a Meganium that has a more consistent time against Registeel and also has counterplay into flying type Pokemon, or you could use it as a Shiftry, which still has that, tech against the Altaria there and has a much more consistent time against the Registeel. Beyond that, fitting a grass type on your team, you do have my infographic from the Great League 101 video that you can use, highlighting the paper, scissors, rock of the Great League meta, and you can use that to guide your team building process. What type of Pokemon is Cherrim? Cherrim is a grass type Pokemon, so use it as a grass type Pokemon, unless you're getting ultra spicy here with the Dazzling Gleam set. Then when it comes to the best moveset for Cherrim, what moveset you want to be using, if you want to play more like a Meganium, I'd say go with the Razor Leaf set backed up with Weather Ball and Dazzling Gleam. If you're using Razor Leaf, you're never really going to need or reach that Solar Beam, so I feel like having the Dazzling Gleam for dark, fighting, and Altarias that come in your way, that could definitely be helpful. Another set to recommend is the Bullet Seed set using the Solar Beam and the Weather Ball. That way you play as a grass type Pokemon still. You have a riskier time against water type Pokemon, but you definitely have that Registeel matchup on lock. And I mean, Bullet Seed plus Weather Ball, that's quite possibly one of the spammiest movesets in the entire game there. So pretty insane there, pretty insane. And then the final moveset I can recommend for you is the one displayed on screen right here, which is the Bullet Seed, Weather Ball, Dazzling Gleam set. Basically the Mad Lad, I'm a grass type Pokemon, but I ain't a grass type Pokemon type moveset. And I'd say if you use this moveset on your team, I would use it as a swap-in Pokemon. Because if you bring Cherrim into a water type Pokemon, they're probably going to swap out because they're like, oh wow, that's grass type, gone, right? And then they might bring in something like Altaria, which is kind of what we're going for here with the Dazzling Gleam. So I'd use this as a spicy swap-in Pokemon. I'd say overall, really good set here because the chances of you needing that grass type damage against the targets your opponent are going to bring in is going to be relatively low. But you could get caught. You could get caught in a matchup against Azumarill, for instance, and I mean, Dazzling Gleam can hurt it, but it's not. You're not going to win that matchup now. So when it comes to nailing down what the best moveset is, it really depends on how you want to use your Cherrim. That said, Cherrim does have 3 distinct roles from itself, making it effectively 3 Pokemon in one, and very few Grass-type Pokemon have that level of variety. All in all, I can't say that Cherrim is some OP Omega God Great League Pokemon that you want to have on every single team no matter what, but it is a really good Pokemon nonetheless. I mean, if you think Meganium's good or you think Shiftry's good, well then you better start thinking that Cherrim's good too, is all I'm saying. Another quick thing to note about Cherrim, I just realized I covered 3 of the big 4. You know, Azumarill, Altaria, Registeel. But what about Deoxys Defense Form here? Well, the Bullet Seed Dazzling Gleam set beats Deoxys Defense Form. All shield, well, okay, not the 0 shield scenario, but the 1-1 and the 2-2 shield scenario, the Bullet Seed Cherrim wins straight Weather Ball. And the Razor Leaf set, the Deoxys Defense Form can't really tolerate Razor Leaf very well, so clearly the Razor Leaf set is going to beat it as well. So definitely a really solid pick there. Didn't want to leave Deoxys out of this equation though. And there you have it, Cherrim, the Sun God Pokemon. The grass type that is somehow in a way the best fire type in the game right now. Okay, I wouldn't say best fire type. Alola Marowak probably has that title, but a really good fire type Pokemon trapped in a grass type Pokemon's body here. At any rate, if you got any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. If you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you'd like to support the Swagman on Patreon, well, it's in the description, man.